Chapter 121. Transfer. Mr. Mowatt, pack up, you're being moved. To where? They walked off without responding. I was taken downstairs to R&D with all the officers staring at me. My identical twin brother's face has been on every news show every day and even recurring on America's Most Wanted for the past 6 months. Seeing me, they were seeing him. A lot of the officers were sympathetic to my plight and even rooted for my brother. They were weary and skeptical of the government's claim also. They didn't take Benny's actions personal. But some were already calling the FBI to tell them that they had Kobe, and they were pretty sure of it. They were doing everything they could to collect the reward money. I was transferred to Youth Center 1 at Lorton, the same place that I did a 90-day youth study at the age of 17 and my brother Yuck and Benny did time at. And it was the same place I was escorted off the compound from when I went to see them. I was placed into a population block for a little over 20 minutes before a squadron of officers came to my room. They were ordered to escort me to the hole. It was called the Max. The higher ups in the administration didn't want me in their facility. They were pissed that I was even sent there, so I was taken to the Max forthwith. I wasn't given any explanation while being escorted off the compound for the second time. Everybody on the compound just stopped and stared. I knew something big was brewing. I just couldn't put my finger on it. I thought I might be transferred to Guantanamo Bay detention camp in Cuba, especially since no lawyer was willing to touch my case. I had no pending charges and I hadn't heard anything from the parole board in almost 6 months. They never made a decision. I was just doing dead time with no one knowing anything or wanting to say anything. Everybody was scared of the FBI, including my lawyer, the parole board, and the parole commission. Whatever was going to happen, I had to deal with it. I only hoped that my brother kept running. After a few weeks in the Max, one morning my cell bar shook twice and then opened. My cellie stepped onto the tier in which an officer instructed him to tell me to come to the front. I thought I was going to court or I may have gotten indicted. I tied up my boots and walked up there. The officer was behind protective bars with the TV on. I let you out so you could see what's going on. The TV had my brother's face plastered all over it with groupie fame-seeking politicians and cops fighting to get FaceTime. The Tanzanian ambassador to the United States was speaking with the Kenyan ambassador, the U.S. Attorney General Janet Reno, and the first black U.S. Attorney Eric Holder flanking him. The FBI agents that came to my parole hearing were behind them. My brother had gotten captured. Fuck, I whispered to myself. I didn't want the officer to report my reaction to the media, so I didn't react. Damn, I was rooting for him too, the officer said. I didn't respond. I walked away, returned to the cell, and hopped onto the top bunk without saying a word. What they talking about? My cellie asked. They caught my brother in Africa. He jumped up off the bottom bunk. You serious? Arusha, Tanzania. Damn. We were 24 years old. My brother was arrested while living in a hut with 2 baboons, a vervet monkey, and 6 dogs in the wilderness of Tanzania. He had left the city part of Arusha after the police and military forces began closing in. He had a 5,000 square foot house on 5 acres of land built with the proceeds from trading diamonds, plus some of the couple $100,000 US that he took with him. After a Tanzanian friend had brought him the local newspaper called Uhuru, showing him being featured prominently on the cover, he had to abandon the property and keep moving. He had to be smuggled into the trunk of a 1974 Russian-made Lada to sneak past 3 military jeeps full of fully armed soldiers who showed up to the home. He headed into the wilderness. He had already ran from Russia to Egypt to Kenya and finally Tanzania. They were on his trail in every country and in every city that he went to. He almost got caught in Nairobi, Kenya. The military had surrounded the house of a girlfriend that he had picked up earlier in the evening. Dropping her home that night after going to a rugby game, he watched them surround the house and yell on the bullhorns.
Mr. Mowatt, we have the house surrounded. Come out with your hands above your head. Kobe Mowatt, a.k.a. Hussein, a.k.a. Rakim,
a.k.a. Moses,
a.k.a.
Twin.
We have the house surrounded. Come out with your hands above your head.
You are wanted in America on a 53-count indictment.
They knew of all the aliases he used in the various countries he had traveled to. Once he dropped her off, he drove his rental Land Rover south towards the Tanzanian border. While in Tanzania, he had gotten chased by the military twice and was able to elude capture. He was on his way to Rwanda, but the genocide was just concluding. 800,000 people had been killed in 90 days in the Belgian and French instigated war between the Hutu and the Tutsis. 70% of the victims were Tutsis. We had family in Rwanda. Our uncle had once came to DC to raise funds for the war when we showed him our arsenal of assault rifles and automatic weapons. He asked us to come to Rwanda to help fight against some of the warlords. He would get us into the country through the Congo, though the Congo was a Hutu stronghold. We would be of good use there. At the time, the genocide was just beginning. The Hutus and the Tutsis were into a full-scale war after the newly elected Hutu president was assassinated in a plane crash. The superpower governments either instigated or stayed on the sidelines as the atrocity continued. My family were on the losing end. We lost over 30 extended family members. They were all Tutsis. Unfortunately for my brother, the borders were closed off because of the war. The Burundian border was also closed off, and Zambia, Malawi, and Mozambique were 600 to 800 miles away, respectively. 3 months later, he was back in America after being extradited from Tanzania. The reason why it took so long was because the Tanzanian officials demanded a kickback for his extradition. The American government had to come up with tens of thousands of American dollars in cash to pay off different officials. The cash had to be flown over by another FBI agent, which delayed the transfer. While that was being sorted out, his face and coming extradition was on every news outlet across the country. He landed at Dulles International Airport in Dulles, Virginia, 26 miles outside of DC. Ironically, the airport was named in the honor of the CIA chief who had our namesake, Patrice Lumumba, assassinated, excavated, and dissolved in acid. Both of our middle names are Lumumba. The assassination was also carried out by my neighborhood's namesake, Kennedy. Before the extradition, the same FBI agents that cried in my interrogation and came to my parole hearings toured the city of Arusha taking pictures, including in front of my brother's Shamba, a small home that he hand-built from mud. They immediately contracted a virus and had to be flown back to America to be hospitalized for months. 2 of them withered down from 200 to 130 pounds before barely recovering. The motherland rejected them. My brother came off of the plane and into waiting police vehicles with his thick dreadlocks swinging and a mean scowl. His dreads looked like a lion's mane. The groupie FBI agents were fighting for position to be seen by the plethora of news cameras waiting. "Let me wear the FBI jacket," the sunburned agent that interrogated me and came to my parole hearings argued with another. "I want to walk on his left side. The cameras are over there." He pointed to an area on the tarmac loaded with media. "Pull your shoulders back when you're walking and have a stern face. Hold them in this position. Make sure the FBI logo is showing." "Okay, you walk in front. You in the back. I will be walking with him." "Why do you have to walk with him?" "Because I said so." "But you're not my supervisor." "Come on, guys, calm down." Another agent had to step between two of the groupies as they were getting ready to square off. The convoy of police vehicles headed straight to D.C. for a court hearing. After seeing him on TV with his dreads, I immediately pulled my braids out and locked them up as well.